All right, everybody. I think we're about ready here. Let's see. Getting this ready, getting that ready. Checking my show notes for tonight. Having some of the best bumper music around, or at least some of the best that YouTube has to offer. I kind of like this particular track because it always makes me feel like I'm about to sit down in a dark theater, about to watch some kind of 70s kung fu movie. Yeah, that was pretty cool. I'll leave that right there. Yeah, that's good. All right. All right. Well, welcome back, everyone, for yet another live stream. Thank you all for joining me, whether live or replay. Out in the chat there, I want to say hello to Killer Rabbit from Space. Thanks for catching my show tonight, as always. Very cool to see you there. Let's see. Hello, Melted Copper. Thought it said late night. Oh, yes. No, that's me trying to think of something to name my show. Oh, Tim the Enchanter. Hello. Good for you to hang out for a spell. And Melted Copper with, I can't quite make that out, but it looks kind of interesting. Hello. So I'll go back to this. Let's see. All right. Let me double check some things here. My audio. Okay, I have no way of checking my audio, but I'm just going to go on the assumption that everything is solid. There's my show notes. My browser seems to be doing its thing and nothing. Well, everything should be going all right, I hope. And thus brings an end to my pre-show roll. Kind of what I do on every live stream now that I get things up to speed, get my show notes ready, get my thumbnail uploaded, and I can just jump right into tonight's topic. There we go. Had to hit the cough button. Let's see. So I'm going to be sharing with you all some pretty cool TV shows I've come across over the past few months. Usually, when I delve in the topic of TV shows I've enjoyed recently, it's the occasional cop procedural show or a bunch of K dramas that I've just binge watched and enjoyed. No, tonight I'm going to broaden the range of TV shows and include some from England, some from Australia, a few from Brazil. And yeah, it's going to be, well, I've got one K drama here. It wouldn't be a show where I talk about TV shows without a K drama. That's almost like a prerequisite. Anyway, there's shows that I've rather enjoyed, so I thought I would share them all with you guys out there, or anybody interested in checking out some new shows, maybe some you haven't seen before. Let's see. There's my show notes. Get that set there. Get this set here. Come over here and hit this button to do this, and boom. All right. First show I'm going to be chatting about some tonight is Midsummer Murders. Now, this is a interesting TV show. I've only just started this. I've gotten oh, 3 episodes into the first season. I'm quite enjoying it. It is a detective mystery type show based on novels by Carolyn Graham. The series follows DC Inspector John Barnaby and his young sergeant as they investigate murders around the county of Midsummer. Midsummer is described as peaceful, but seriously, how peaceful can it be when you have enough crime for a show of the week sort of thing? I mean, it must put a damper on tourism. But anyway, like I said, I just started this. I'm a good 3 episodes into it. So far, I'm enjoying what I'm checking out here. Each episode is like hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes long. So yeah, it's each episode is like a movie, so to speak. And as well as they say, there's series. We say seasons, they say series, like series one, series two, series three. This show has been going on for some time. There's like 24 seasons of it. So if you're looking for something with a good long, now there's like season 24. They got 2 episodes out so far of that. Woof. So yeah, if you're looking for a show that has legs that you won't run out of anytime soon, Midsummer Murder looks to be a pretty good choice. You can find it on Acorn TV, which I guess is part of. I don't know who Acorn TV is through. Is it part of Amazon or well, Freevee is part of Amazon, which I'm trying to find TV shows that are on other streaming services besides Netflix because I've pretty much had my fill of Netflix over the past few years. All the questionable content they have been putting out, it's just left a pretty bad taste in my mouth, so to speak. So I've moved away from Netflix. I canceled my Netflix subscription years and years ago, and I've had some family recently canceled their subscription to Netflix as well because of the questionable content they've been producing recently. Gotta get a quick drink of water there to refresh the whistle. So yeah, what can I say quickly after a few episodes of Midsummer Murders? Well casted. I don't know anything about the novels. I don't know how true they stick to the source material. That's always a concern when you're dealing with adaptations. Um, I don't know. Good, solid mysteries. Good if you like police procedural type shows. This one seems like a pretty good run. And like I said, you've got plenty of content here with 24 seasons. And checking out the if my browser will cooperate. Come on, browser. I clicked on you. There we go. All right. Yeah, nothing on Rotten Tomatoes. Let me refresh this. I thought there was a Rotten Tomato score for this show, but nope. Based on the crime novel series by author Carolyn Graham, Midsummer Murders follows the efforts of Detective Chief Inspector John Barnaby to solve crimes that occur in the wealthy, isolated English county of Midsummer, a picturesque and peaceful place on the outside, but one filled with amoral and snobbish eccentrics with all kinds of vices. Yes, enough vices for 24 seasons of content. We'll just leave it at that. It was yeah, fun show so far. I hope it continues. Yeah, I hope it stays consistent with its writing and production. You can find it in a number of places streaming. Let's see, moving right along here. Dun, 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 dun. Moving down my show notes here. There we go. All right. Next on the list here is a show called Mystery Road. Newly minted Detective Jay Swan investigates a series of violent robberies in a dusty outback town that's home to people from his past and his future. Check this out. It was a pretty nice series. It's how many seasons is it? Oh, 3 seasons. So quite a bit of content here. I quite enjoyed it. It has Aaron Pedersen as the lead actor, as the Detective Jay Swan. Good production value, good mystery to it. Another good cop drama if you like that sort of thing. And here it's available on Amazon Prime or Acorn TV. Oh, well, there it is. Acorn is part of Amazon Prime. How about that? I wasn't sure about that. No, just a good, basic, solid police procedural drama. It kept me going from episode to episode. Good pacing, good casting. Um, Highly rated here on Amazon. Plus, if I go over to Rotten Tomatoes, this is pretty impressive. Mystery Road, we got a 100% on the tomato meter or the tomato meter, whatever this thing is. It's rated pretty high here. Plus, it's got a nice high audience score of 88%. So yeah, pretty good show here. Oh, checking out the chat. Melted Copper says if people keep camping at Cape Crystal Lake, murder can never evade tourists. Yeah, that's how it goes. You gotta be careful with those camping spots. All right. Next on my list, a Korean drama, Shadow Detective, another police procedural show, but uh, any list I do wouldn't feel complete without a K drama in it. And Shadow Detective is a pretty binge worthy TV show. It follows. It's basically a really good cat and mouse type mystery thriller involving a soon to retire detective who gets caught up in a murder of another detective, a coworker of his, when the culprit threatens to frame him for the murder. So he has to deal with all that. And then the culprit kind of pushes him along, pushes the detective to reopen some of his old cases to fully investigate them, because some of them he kind of like rushed his older cases and kind of botched the investigation. So the murderer who's trying to frame him is like pushing him along the way, kind of taunting him, like, hey, you'd better do what I tell you or else. It was it's a really good series. It's easily bingeable because I was finding myself just hanging at the end of every episode, having to go from one episode to the next just to see what was going on. I actually just started season 2 of this show last night, and I can kind of continuing it earlier this evening before I started my live stream here. I got myself up to episode 4 or 5, and then I just had to shut the TV off because I had to prepare for this live stream tonight. That's how good this particular show is. It's got a nice little cat and mouse here between the killer and the detective that the killer is trying to frame for another murder. Good acting, good casting. Let's see. I think this is another show that does not have a Rotten Tomato entry. So I'm looking at what am I looking at? I'm looking at AsianWiki.com, and they give it an 89 current user rating. I'm guessing that's, what is this? 100% on the little bar here. You didn't vote on this yet, it says. So I'm guessing this is 89 out of 100%. So yeah, pretty good rating here. Let me see. It is on Hulu, which is really nice. It is dubbed, so that is refreshing for people who get kind of tired of subtitles or might not have the eyesight for reading subtitles and trying to watch a TV show at the same time. It's 2 seasons so far, and I'm almost 5 episodes into season 2. It's very binge watchable. Very good series. I mean, I started watching it and I was hooked by it pretty quickly, and I just went episode to episode. It does this really good job of leaving you at the end of an episode wanting more. It's like it hooks you and forces you to watch the next episode. Okay, let's see. The next TV show on my list, unfortunately, is on Netflix. This one, this one was rather good. This is a Brazilian, yeah, this show comes from Brazil. It's a dystopian show with some sci-fi overtones. It's called Omniscient. Omniscient. Come on, mouth, work. Omniscient. I actually was practicing that word earlier today and I didn't have a problem with it. But now that I'm live, I'm tripping over my words. Well, go figure. Anyway, this was a really interesting and well done mystery, kind of a murder mystery of sorts. It follows a young woman named Nina who is a resident in a futuristic city controlled by a computer or a computer network called the System. Now, the System is like this massive supercomputer that controls tiny drones. Think of like a small housefly. That's the size of the typical drone that is in this series. It monitors each and every citizen that lives in the city. Now, because everyone is essentially monitored 24/7, day in and day out, there's no privacy. There's also no crime because these drones, they follow you around, they monitor everyone, And if anyone commits a crime, then the drone relays that information back and alerts the police, and then the police come and actions taken. Uh, this is a really good show because if you want to talk about something that demonstrates the massive abuse of technology and authority, this show really demonstrates that. Uh, you could say on the surface it's nice and peaceful. The city's clean. There's no crime. Uh, you could ride your bicycle to work. You could put your bicycle in a bike rack and not worry about locking it up because nobody will steal it. You could leave your wallet on a table and walk away from it and nobody will steal it because everybody has these little drones. Each, like every citizen in the city has a drone essentially assigned to them. Like you have your own little drone that follows you around 24/7. No privacy, nothing. So it watches your every move. And it's nice to think about because it does bring up the question of what would you trade off for security, for safety. Is like you are living in a city and in a society that is safe, it's secured, there's no crime, but you really don't have any freedom, do you? You have no privacy, you have no freedom. It's like having to be on your best behavior 24/7 because if you do even the smallest infraction, the drone will report you to the authorities. Oh, I see in the chat. Hello, Padawannabe. Let's see. I'll have to look in some of these. I'm watching Scavenger's Reign on Max. It's animated, but it's one of the strangest shows. Yeah. I actually have watched a little bit of the first episode, and that is strange. That's a very odd style of animation. It kind of reminds me of art by French artist Mobius. I may have to check that out more, see if I can get into it. But yeah, that was kind of an interesting look to it. Now, Omniscient, going by Rotten Tomatoes, pretty high audience score of 80%. As our little info description here says, in a future in which every citizen is monitored 24/7 by a drone, a woman discovers a murder unaccounted by this surveillance system and investigates why. It essentially revolves around Nina, the main character. She kind of works for, goodness, I forget. She's like part of the company that operates the supercomputer or maintains the supercomputer that operates all the little drones that follows everybody around. Now, what happens is her dad is actually murdered, but the drone that was assigned to him didn't catch the murderer, didn't alert the police. The police have no record of it, but because the drone didn't didn't capture any video of her dad being murdered, so it's up to her to figure out what happened, how it happened, and why it happened, who's behind it. So she has to like pretty much do the job the police couldn't do. She has to like tackle the flaw in the system, find out what happened. She has to figure out the who, the why, the what, and who's behind it all. So it's a pretty nice little mystery going on there. It's got its twists and turns and all that. It's a pretty good series. It's one I can really recommend. One season. Let me see here. I'll do. Nope. Wrong button. Wrong button. Here we go. Yeah, one season on Netflix. This says 2020. So it's been almost 4 years now, and I have not read anything up on a second season, but there is something that opens up for a second season if they decide to pursue it. Got a pretty good Rotten Tomato score here. The only thing that kind of hampers it for me to fully recommend is that it's on Netflix. I wish there was another streaming service besides Netflix that these shows could go to. In the chat, I see what's this? Padawannabe says this makes me recall a show where all the online voice devices are monitored. A woman thinks she hears a murder committed, but has to find the info. Yeah. Huh. That sounds vaguely familiar. I don't know if I've seen that show, but that synopsis sounds familiar. Like I might have seen a trailer for that, but I can't place that. That's interesting. Hmm. Okay. Oh, okay. Somewhat. What's next on my little list here is another show, loosely connected to Omniscient, simply because it's by the same creator. This show is called 3%. Again, it's a Brazilian sci fi TV show. Let's see, I'm checking out my show notes real quick here. Yeah, Omniscient, 3%, by the same creator as Omniscient. Let's see, reading Netflix's description here. In a future where the elite inhabit a island paradise far from the crowded slums, you get one chance to join the 3% saved from squalor. Okay, so this is a character drama with sci-fi overtones. It's not like a hard sci-fi. Oh, there's 4 seasons. I was thinking there was just 3, but there's 4 seasons of it. So you do get quite a bit of content to it if you decide to check it out. It kind of follows you follow the main character, this woman named Michelle, as she participates in a competition to become one of the elect who are picked from the slums to join the elite on the shall we say island paradise known as the offshore, if I remember right. Now this is Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes gives it an 80% audience score. Oh, actually, they do give a good description here. In the distant future, most of the population lives in poverty in an area known as the inland. There's an elite group, though, that has chosen to live in a virtual paradise, the offshore. It's kind of like an island paradise because it is a island that is far removed from the mainland. And then, as the description continues, every year each 20-year-old gets a chance to make it to the island paradise by taking a series of tests. Only 3% of the candidates succeed and qualify to leave the impoverished inland area. One of the newest residents of the offshore is Michelle, a naive young woman with no family who has a strong sense of justice. Okay, so this was a how to describe the show. It was odd. It was kind of a slow burn at first because it does move slowly at first, setting up the doing its own world building, setting up its character, the character dynamics. There is it's sci-fi, but it's not. Doesn't have a lot of sci-fi overtones to it. It's not like oh, you see spaceships flying around. It was hard for me to nail down really because I started watching the show, looking at it, expecting it to be kind of heavy-handed or preachy. I was expecting some kind of blatant portrayal or positive light shown on collectivist ideology or by extension socialism or whatnot. It definitely went into the a two-tiered society. It showed the haves and the have-nots. You got the sense that this was in a way kind of like a Star Trek style future. After a collapse, you get abundance, you get technology leading to abundance. But in this world, in this show, you have the elite that's controlling the technology, and they hoard it to themselves. They keep everybody else um, on a lower level. So you definitely have the two tiered society, the haves and have nots. You have the technology though to create abundance, to create um, a comfortable society for the masses. It's just that the elite choose not to. They keep it to themselves, and they have these contests that when you turn 20, you get to compete in a series of competitions and challenges that kind of monitor your personality, your intellect, how you handle pressure, how you problem solve, how you handle different situations. So it's like mental and physical challenges, and they pick the top 3% to join the elite on the offshore. Um, it was kind of odd. Like I said before, I kept expecting it to portray one political system or another, but it didn't really do that. It didn't really take a stand on any one political ideology. It kind of like looked at them all, so it was kind of even handed in that way. If it had any other, shall we say, message, I really didn't pick up on it, unless you wanted to simply say that power corrupts, because you do have, as the show moves along, it does go into the elite who kind of founded the offshore island paradise and how they wanted to keep the technology to themselves. So show it does show the power corrupts absolutely sort of ideals. You got the standard tropes of man versus man, man versus system, especially how the main character, the lead character, Michelle, goes through all of her struggles to take on the system and the man kind of governing the system. So, yeah, you do get quite a bit of that. It's an interesting character drama. It does get you thinking some about resources and resource management. It is kind of slow at first, though. It's mainly a character building drama. This show and Omniscient, both created by the same guy. If I were to pick a show that I enjoyed more, I would say it was Omniscient. I think I like that series a great deal better. Let's see. Checking my show notes here. Da, 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 da. Time is, how long have I been rambling on here? Okay, it's not bad. Let's see. Go here, push this button. Da, da, da. Rotten Tomato score of that. Last show for the evening, one that I kind of found myself enjoying. Going back to Australia, this is a Australian TV show called Tropo. It's a pretty serious cop drama, PI drama here. Australian crime series where an oddball private investigator with a criminal past has to hire this disgraced ex cop because she needs help working on her first real case as a private investigator. Based on a novel called Crimson Lake by Candace Fox. I will have to look that up because I'm always curious when I see something based on a novel. I'm always curious how well they stick to the source material. Let's see. This you can find this on Freevee, the free part of Amazon. There is 8 episodes, so it's one season. Yeah, one season. You can watch it free with ads on Freevee. Let's see, as their little description has here, it says Amanda Farrell, an eccentric private investigator with a disturbing criminal past, recruits disgraced ex cop Ted Concaffey, going by memory. It's been a while since I've watched this show, but I want to say it's Ted Concaffey, to help her solve her first real case, the disappearance of a Korean family man and tech pioneer. So, yeah, pretty good. Pretty heavy character drama because what you have going on here is scooting over to Rotten Tomatoes here. This is impressive. Rotten Tomatoes gives this a 100%, and it gets an average audience score of 78%. That's still pretty high. That's pretty good for a cop drama. From what I remember of it, it was a good crime series, good police procedural or private investigative procedural show. Um, Pretty heavy character drama because some of the subject matter that these two characters are dealing with, the PI, the private investigator girl, she has her own baggage, her own past baggage. The ex cop has some pretty major baggage that got him kicked off the police force. So, all that happened in their recent past. And by the time the private investigator finds out that she needs to hire him as a um, partner, not a partner, but maybe I guess it would be a partner in some ways because they do start working together more closely as the series progresses. They're having to deal with their own baggage as the series moves along, and it kind of their own baggage, their own issues, kind of keeps them isolated from the town, the rest of the town folk. So they live in the same town, but they kind of isolate themselves from society. So they're having to deal with their baggage. They're having to deal with working with each other. They kind of have trust issues, so they have to work through uh, how to work with one another because you have two completely different people from different walks of life trying to work their way through a crime to investigate it, do what the cops can't for one reason or another. It's it was pretty interesting. It kept me going from one episode to the next. Let's see here. It's stars Thomas Jane, Nicole Chamoun, Chowman. I have absolutely no idea how that name is pronounced. But anyway, David Lyons, Sun Park, Year and Ha. Thomas Jane, what little I've seen him in, I quite enjoy his acting. And it was really good seeing him on this show. Well, that goes off on a tangent. What other shows have I seen Thomas Jane in? I think I first noticed him in, yes, The Punisher. Yeah, definitely. I quite enjoyed him as the Punisher. Of course, he was in The Expanse. He has a pretty good filmography for movies and TV shows. It's just I haven't really seen much of him as an actor. But in this show, he's playing a grizzled ex cop, disgraced ex cop, and he does an excellent job with that. I don't want to scroll down because it gives descriptions of the episodes. I don't want to give away any spoilers. Let me see. Well, that pretty much is the full list of the shows I was wanting to share with everybody tonight. It was really interesting, these particular shows, as I remember checking them out from time to time. Let me see here. Wrong button. I keep hitting the wrong buttons. How about that? Now I'm partway into season 1 of Midsummer Murders. How far along? I want to say I'm about to get to episode 3 of season 1 of this show. And then Mystery Road, another good Australian cop TV show. That was really good. Also, a good heavy character drama because you have uh, good characters, but they're dealing with their own baggage, their own pasts that keep cropping up in the shows. Let's see. Shadow Detective. I'm part way through the second season of Shadow Detective, and this is one I highly recommend. I mean, once you get into the first few episodes, you're hooked, and it keeps you going from one episode to the next. Omniscient is another one I highly recommend. 3%, that was pretty good. If you like kind of shows that kind of look at the haves and the have-nots and how they struggle for justice and equality and all that jazz, you might like 3%. And then Tropo, another good cop drama from Australia. So yeah, essentially that's what I was wanting to share with everyone. Let me check back in the chat here. If anybody has any shows that they're enjoying at the moment, please share. I'm always looking for new stuff to check out. Let's see. Melted Copper says Thomas Jane Punisher took the family murder to a comedic extent that was like, yeah, I do remember that. That was something else. How he now that just happened to his family right at the start of the movie. Let's see. Killer Rabbit says I started watching Emergency from 1970s. Huh, that's interesting. I'm going to jot that down real quick. Emergency 1970s. That's cool. as my browser goes a little wonky. Okay, I see. Emergency, 1972 to 1979. Okay, that's cool. That looks like it had a good run to it. Let's see. Melted Copper. I think the last show I watched all of was the Evil Dead show long after it was canceled. Yeah, I remember that. I started watching it and I can't recall how far I got into it. I kind of enjoyed what I saw, but then it got to a point where it was just way over the top with its gore. I mean, it just got to the point where it was just silly. It was like so much blood and gore all over the place. It's like I can't watch this show. It's like nah, I can't keep up with this. Killer Rabbits about firefighters, paramedics in LA. Okay, cool. I've got that on my list of future shows to check out because I have started some other shows from the 70s like Sapphire and Steel. I kind of watched a couple episodes of that to see what that was about. There's always Doctor Who from the 70s and 80s. That's good for a rewatch. Quite a good bit of content, good TV from the 70s and 80s. It's a shame we'll never have a period of time like that again because there's so much classic content, good TV shows from that period of time. The cop dramas, the TV shows from the 70s, the shows from the 80s. It's like you could put all these TV shows on postcards, tape them to a wall, and start throwing darts, and you wouldn't hit a dud. Oh, and Melted Copper says that. Okay, that's why you liked Evil Dead. Okay, uh, to each their own. That was a bit much for me, but that's cool. Let's see. Now shows are like really long movies. Yes. I mean, some TV shows were kind of formulaic, where they stuck to a 45-minute or 50-minute formula. But we got a lot of episodes per season. Like way back when, we would have like the 22 or the 24 episodes per season. Now we're lucky if we get 6 to 8 episodes per season, and they're all like an hour in length or 50 minutes in length. Let's see. Oh, Killer Rabbit says, yes, yes, that's classic. All in the Family. I think the spinoff from that was the Jeffersons, if I recall right. There was Sanford and Son. One of my favorites from the 80s was Night Court. I really enjoyed Night Court. There was, of course, Magnum PI, The Equalizer. Those are some really good shows. Simon and Simon, The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. I mean, those were the days, quoting that line from that theme song from All in the Family. Those were the days. I was actually looking up The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. Yesterday, trying to find out if there was a release of it on Blu ray. but incredibly, there's not a Blu-ray release of Adventures of Briscoe County, which seems like a shame. It's almost a travesty somehow that that is not released, preserved in Blu-ray. Let's see. Melted Copper says, has ever Marvel movies are more like TV shows, even more TV shows are shoved in the movies. Okay, yeah. Yep. And then Knight Rider with Michael Knight, the A Team. Yes, yes. I remember Knight Rider. I remember the A Team. There was the Equalizer. Um, Simon Simon. What else was there? Oh, Street Hawk. There were just so many good shows back then. The sort of things that those of us who grew up during the 70s and 80s, we can like look back and say that was some good, solid entertainment. Yeah, yeah, I can see that. Never thought of that before, but yeah, I can see that. Every once in a while, I come across some fan posting on like Reddit or someplace, some forum where somebody says there could be a Briscoe County Junior reboot or remake, and I'm content with it just being the way it is. We don't need to mine every TV show from the 80s for another reboot, retake, reimagining, re this, re that. Just leave it be. All that time and energy spent doing that, you could easily create something new, original, interesting. Instead, we get a new Equalizer TV show. We get a new Magnum PI TV show. We get a new Walker Texas Ranger TV show. Uh, oh, yes. The less said about the remake of Kung Fu, the better. Because I remember that Kung Fu TV series from the 70s and 80s with, what was his name? Robert Carradine. And then the CW, of all places, came out with this Kung Fu reboot set in current day. Absolutely no connection whatsoever to the old TV show aside from the name. There's like a female lead character, a magic sword, some crap like that. I forced myself through the first episode, and that was enough of that. But yeah, that's what happens when you go back to the 80s and decide to remake a TV show and just alter it completely. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Sledgehammer was like the Naked Gun. Yeah, yeah, I remember that one. Of course, any discussion of the okay. You mean a Fox remake of Sledgehammer? I never knew that. I'm glad that stayed off my radar. It's like, no, no, enough with the remakes. Well, there'll only be one Magnum PI. Ah, hello, Teague. Hi there. Thanks for joining us tonight. Cool to see you in the chat. Now, any discussion of 80s content, you can't forget Miami Vice, the great content from back then. What was else? Da-da-da-da-da. Everything that is escaping me at the moment. Walker, Texas Ranger, which my dad watched all the time. There was another TV show. I know. 80s TV shows. I know there's going to be a list of something out there. V, Sledgehammer, Cheers, Knight Rider, Three's Company, Alf, Twilight Zone, Crime Story. Oh, I remember Crime Story. Oh, yes, yes. The Night Court reboot was sad because when everyone is dead, it places sad overtones. Yes, yes. I've never actually watched an episode of that, but I've seen bits and pieces of the first episode. And it was kind of sad because it was just John Larroquette there reprising his role. And yeah, that was pretty sad. Yeah, yeah, that was pretty sad. I've never actually watched it. I don't intend to catch any of it. I have happy memories of the original Night Court. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, Crime Story was good, but it wasn't on long. Yeah, I really enjoyed Crime Story. I remember that back in the day. Uh, Loved the theme song. Had some good production value to it. That was a good series. Let me see. Da, 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 da. What's this? Dark Helmet says New Night Court was a respectful sequel. Okay. Well, that's good to hear. That's rather nice that they made a respectful sequel to that. That's cool. I could be tempted to watch it perhaps. I don't know. Quantum Leap was gold. Yeah, I remember Quantum Leap. Not sure about the new Quantum Leap. Yeah, I'm not sure of it either. Much like I'm not sure of the proposed Max Headroom reboot or continuation. I read about a few months back. I mean, when you think of all the '80s TV shows, the most unique was Max Headroom. Also, it was so quirky and odd that I almost thought it was going to be reboot proof because how do you take something so off the wall bonkers as Max Headroom and reboot it for today's audience? It's like it was truly ahead of its time, and if you tried doing something to like it today, it'd be kind of forced. Yeah, you really couldn't do something like Max Headroom today. I mean that idea, that concept was unique and thoroughly part of the '80s. That was certainly in the '80s decade. What else am I remembering? I remember. Oh, 21 Jump Street. I remember. I vaguely remember Hill Street Blues. Some of the cop shows my dad used to watch. Of course, MacGyver. Richard Dean Anderson, long before he was on Stargate SG-1. Checking out the chat here. Oh, the chat's getting pretty good here. He said, I'm guessing Night Court was on at first and came from a good place. Said it got better as the season went on too. Well, that's actually good to hear. That is really good to hear. I'm actually getting tempted now to check out this Night Court reboot. Oh yes, X-Files. Classic show. Oh, X-Files? You can't mention X-Files without mentioning Kolchak, the Night Stalker, the show from the 70s that inspired Chris Carter to make the X-Files. What if the Max Headroom show continued in a parallel present like it did originally? Yeah, that would be interesting. I was talking about it in a live stream like, I don't know, 3-4 months back, where I was going over a little bit of an article on the new Max Headroom reboot, continuation, or whatever it is, and Matt Frewer is associated with it. So he's actually connected to it, and there were some other big names that were associated with the Max Headroom continuation show. So they're probably not going to mess it up if they really care about the character and the property and doing something right with it. But I have not looked it up recently. Information was hard to find about it. There's not much out there. There might be now, but when I was looking it up, there wasn't much information out there on it. Let's see. Yeah, it is a true continuation, a true sequel. I saw clips of the first episode and saw where they're going with it, and I thought, okay, that is pretty good. That it's not a reboot, but more of like a continuation, and they're having to bring in new people to continue it with. I wonder if Frasier is going to have Cheers return, or his wife. Yeah, yeah. No telling. Let's see. Trying to think of. I mentioned Miami Vice already. I mentioned Magnum PI. Of course, Cheers, Night Court. What else was out there? Remington Steele. I remember Remington Steele. I remember Moonlighting. Those are some pretty unique 80s shows. Oh, okay. I have not kept up with Frasier. I was curious about it. Bond? Bond like James Bond during the 80s, those movies? From what I remember of them, they were pretty good. Yes, Simon and Simon. That's right after Magnum PI for me. I was looking up box sets for Simon and Simon yesterday, trying to see if there was a like one giant box set, but there's just smaller box sets for each season. And if I remember right, I did not see anything about Simon and Simon being on Blu-ray, which is kind of sad. I kind of look for stuff to see if they're released on Blu-ray or not, and Simon and Simon Oh yes, yes, yes. Remember and Steel had Pierce Bronson in it. James Bond. Yeah, I got you. I follow you there. Yep. Pierce Bronson, and then he's been in so much since then. He's had a really good career over the years. And it stalled him from becoming Bond, so we got Timothy Dalton. Yeah. Yeah, well, it is what it is, or was what it was. There is another TV show that I'm trying to think of. What is that show I'm trying to think of? Goodness. Max Headroom, Miami Vice. I'm just trying to go down a mental list of all the shows I remember from back then. Oh yes, yes. So we talked about Police Squad. We talked about Sledgehammer. Oh, Mork and Mindy. That was an '80s gem. Dukes of Hazard, The A Team, of course, Doctor Who. Fond childhood memories of Tom Baker, the Doctor Who, the strange show I was checking out on my local PBS station late at night at like 10:30. Yep, that's right. Timothy Dalton fought the Rocketeer. That was a good movie. That was a really good movie. Tales from the Crypt. That was a TV show, wasn't it? I want to say I remember some of that. I kind of remember a TV show called Friday the 13th that was based on the movies as well. Well, based, but not really based from the movies. It had that name, but from going by memory, it was about some kids or a couple of 20 somethings that were working for their uncle at his pawn shop, or their late uncle or something to that effect, and they had to track down and take back a lot of stuff their uncle was selling at his pawn shop because all of them were cursed or possessed or some such thing. The DVDs of $6 Million Man. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, nothing like physical media because we never know when shows might be pulled off of streaming services. '70s Hulk led to the first Daredevil and Thor. Yep, I remember that. There was a Nightmare Elm Street show too. Hmm, I vaguely remember that, I think. Now, the thing about horror movies and TV shows back then was they were kind of scary, but they're also kind of cheesy and campy at the same time. Horror in the '80s had that really odd mix of cheese, camp, and horror all kind of rolled into one. Let's see. I think we mentioned Quantum Leap a couple of times. Doctor Who. Come on, memory. What else was there? Westerns. What westerns were out there? Oh, I remember. Little House on the Prairie. Yeah, '70s biker helmet, Captain America with his plastic three. Yes, yes. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, superheroes have come a long way since the 80s. Okay, Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. I might have seen an episode or two of that. Oh, that reminds me of what was it? Quincy M.E. Jack Klugman as Quincy M.E., a medical examiner who got involved in uh, investigation and crime solving. Let's see. Still trying to think of stuff. Magnum PI, Night Court. Oh, I was actually thinking of this earlier today. Siskel and Ebert. Their little 30-minute long review show. I mean, Siskel and Ebert. For those of us who do YouTube reviews and discussions, we owe it all to Siskel and Ebert. Their discussions about movies, giving something two thumbs up or two thumbs down. Yeah, we owe it all to them. Let's see. I barely remember if there was a cartoon with a live action Plastic Man. Huh. That one, I can't quite place that. Oh, yes, Columbo from the 70s and 80s. I was actually looking up his series on see if it was out there on Blu-ray or if there was any kind of giant box set for that because I like collecting physical media of these older shows, slowly trying to collect them all. And Columbo was one of the ones I was looking up, kind of like Kolchak, the Night Stalker, Magnum PI, the Equalizer. Let's see. Oh yes, Alf, Harry and the Hendersons, the Weird Creature family sitcoms. Yeah, yeah. Dinosaurs was good. Oh, yeah, that's the unfortunate part, but yeah, they're dinosaurs. Oh, yeah, of course there was V the series. That was something else. Here I am trying to think of stuff. There was Moonlighting. Yeah, we talked about Jeffersons. Oh, I remember now. Taxi. Have the Columbo complete DVD set. Oh, that's cool. That's a good one to have. Yeah, Punky Brewster. I don't know if I ever watched any Punky Brewster. I might have watched maybe an episode of it. I think I was checking out other things at the time. Well, I know. I've got the internet right in front of me here. How about that? I wonder if I can do this. 80s TV shows. Oh, hello, Lemon Pie. Hi there. Love Columbo. Great show. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, yeah. Christopher Lloyd, his role in Taxi was just that was a great character for him. And them those two just playing off of one another, Danny DeVito's character and Christopher Lloyd's character. Oh, that was Buck Rogers. Twiggy. That was the old Buck Rogers series that ran for 2 seasons. First season was really, really good. Second season, not so much. But there are a lot of shows from back then that had oddly a really good first season and not so great second season. Kind of like Space 1999, from what I remember. You had a great first season of that. And then the second season of Space 1999 had changed so much. It was like it was jarring to me. I've never actually watched all of the second season of that Space 1999. Let's see, what am I doing here? What's this? Remember Canon with William Conrad? I've never actually seen that. I believe I've heard a little something about that, but I've never actually checked it out. There was a lot of stuff from way back when that I never really got into. 80s TV shows on Rotten Tomatoes. Help us out here. Yeah, Hercules and Xena was like the Dungeons and yeah, yeah. That was what was that? Creeping into the 90s. The 90s still had some really good content on TV at the time. I remember Hercules, Xena. There was Cleopatra 2525, which was kind of odd. There was Lex, because this is creeping into the 90s and the early 2000s, but there was still some really good stuff on TV. Okay, now I'm not getting anywhere. Rotten Tomatoes, you're failing me here. TV shows. Now there was like Hercules, Xena. There was a lot of good stuff even back then. I'm getting nowhere on this. Most popular TV, Netflix. I know. How about 80s TV shows? All right. When in doubt, go right to a search engine. Top shows from the 80s. 15 TV shows that defined the 80s. Oh, yes. Greatest American Hero. Yeah. Yeah, that was a fun one. There was that. Let's see. Knight Rider, DuckTales, V, A Team. Well, Married with Children. How could anybody forget that one? Oh, Inspector Gadget. Garfield, Hill Street Blues, Dallas. Oh, yes. How could anybody forget Dallas? Miami Vice, Alf, Blackadder. Okay, I remember Blackadder. I don't think I watched the series all the way through, but that was kind of a interesting show. I know I've seen the first season and the second season of it. MacGyver, Greatest American Hero. Oh, the Storyteller, Jim Henson's Storyteller. I remember that. Amazing Stories, MacGyver. Yes, that's right. Go, Gadget, go. With Dr. Claw always saying, I'll get you next time, Gadget. Next time. There's a weird cartoon where this kid. Oh, that's a new one to me. Yeah, whew, that I'm drawing a blank on that one. Woof. Ha. Speaking of cartoons, we got Dungeons and Dragons. We got the real He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Let's see. All right. What is this? Collider. Collider is giving us. There's Rancor. Oh! This show. Yeah, Michael J. Fox. Family Ties. I remember that. Are the Garfield friends going to appear in the new Garfield movie like Duck and the. That I don't know. I am unawares of the new Garfield movie. Okay. Perfect Strangers. Yeah. Let's see, as this article says, enter the 1980s, a glorious time filled with neon colors, new wave music, family sitcoms as far as the eye could see. And we all went to the mall on the weekends to hang out with friends. It was like the height of mall culture and going to arcades and comic book stores and stuff like that. Cheers. What am I skipping over? Silver Spoons. Cheers. Mama's Family. Okay. Oh, I remember that. Yeah. Family Matters. Punky Brewster. Alf. Growing Pains. Family Ties. Full House, which I don't believe I've ever seen an episode of. Ah, yeah, The Cosby Show. A mall I went to as a kid is amazingly still there. That is truly amazing because I can think of two malls that I used to frequent as a kid that are have been demolished and been replaced with big box this or that or the other thing. One was torn down and turned into a giant Walmart, which is a crying shame, and the other one became a community college. I That sounds familiar. There was a rip. There was like a rip off of Married with Children, and the dad talked to a bunny voiced by Bobcat. That sounds kind of familiar. Huh, how about that? Yeah, Bobcat Goldthwait was big during the 80s because of the those police academy movies. You Live By Me, they turned a mall in Juliet into a Walmart. It was like a empty jungle mall. No, no, I'm Juliet. That's like way up north from where I am. That's like Illinois, right? Is that what I'm thinking of? That Juliet there? No, I'm deep down in Texas. If you are far north of me, if you're in one of the northern states, I'm in Texas. But yeah, it is a shame when they turn a perfectly good mall into a Walmart. Or it's a shame if they turn anything into a Walmart, but that's how that goes. Okay, IMDb. 80s TV shows. Roseanne. Oh, yes, The Simpsons. How could you really forget The Simpsons? Huh. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Unfortunate bit of history there. Star Trek Next Gen? Goodness. I like Star Trek. I'm not a big Trekker or Trekkie or whatever big Star Trek fans refer to themselves as. I had genuinely forgotten that Star Trek Next Gen started in 87. I always thought Next Gen started in the 90s, that it was like an early 90s property. Okay. Oh, that shows how closely I followed Star Trek Next Gen. Baywatch. Okay, yeah. Can't say I've ever seen a full episode of that. Oddly enough, I did sit down and watch an episode of Baywatch Nights. I can't remember a thing about it except that it might have had a vampire in it, or it was something where uh, the Baywatch cast did stuff at night where they're trying to explore the paranormal or whatever, some such silliness. Okay. Uh, Now, some of Star Trek I actually don't mind. I do enjoy a good Star Trek series. It's just some of it kind of felt repetitive from Next Gen to, say, Voyager. Some of it got pretty tired pretty quick. Oh, Twin Peaks, 1990, 91. Okay. That was like not quite 80s. That was like 80s adjacent, also known as the 90s. Yep, yep, I do remember that. I think I still have that on old VHS tape someplace when I actually taped that off the TV when it came on. It would be something if we could get David Hasselhoff reprising his role as Nick Fury in the MCU right now. Talk about going back for a deep dive to tap something to come back for a multiverse type character. Magnum PI. Oh, yes. Generation X was like X Men TV movie with Max Headroom as the bad guy. I vaguely remember that. That was a short-lived show from what I remember. Hmm. I don't remember that much about it, honestly. I know I've seen some of it. I don't think I watched all of the run, so there's probably quite a bit of it I haven't seen. But yeah, Generation X, that was that was like at the start of the next push for superhero TV shows, because right after that we got into like Heroes, the 4400, and all these other type TV shows that had a superhero theme to them, or people with abilities like Misfits of Science. That was, I think, was another 80s TV show with people with abilities and whatnot. Oh, that's right. Doctor Strange had a 70s TV special. Yeah. There was Doctor Strange, and then there was a what was that movie studio? Full Moon. It was some movie studio that had a movie series called Doctor Mordred. That was a Doctor Strange ripoff. Full Moon Productions or some such thing. 90s Flash had the Batman 87 ish Flash show. Yeah. Sliders was short lived. Yeah, I remember Sliders. I remember liking and enjoying Sliders, but then uh, the last few seasons of that show kind of went off the rails, because what they did with the characters, that it's like they killed off some of the characters, and then I don't recall if it ever got a good and proper ending. But I want to say that there was something I read recently, like a month or so back, that there was talk of a Sliders continuation slash reboot or whatnot. So I know I've seen most of that series. I just can't remember how it ended. Knight Rider, Quantum. Oh, Matlock, Airwolf, Airwolf. Look at that. I remember that show, Airwolf, and then uh, for a very brief time there was a, what was that other helicopter? Blue Thunder. Yeah, Blue Thunder TV show that was based on the Blue Thunder movie. They killed off characters that cost too much. Yeah, yeah, I can understand that. That's why they ended the show. They didn't know where to take it, how to end it. Oh, Into Heat of the Night. This was the show I was trying to think of. Carol O'Connor from All in the Family playing a cop in the South. One of the many cop TV shows my dad would always have to watch. Hill Street Blues, 21 Jump Street, Coach, Beauty and the Beast, Moonlighting, Perfect Strangers. Oh, goodness, yes. Mystery Science Theater 3000, 1988 to 1999. I remember that. That was a good long run for MST3K, and then they went to Sci-Fi Channel, and then they really changed after that. Let's see, what else is there? MASH came on at midnight, and that was 1900 number time. Oh, yes, yes. Oh, yes, I see. Yep. No, I didn't have cable much at that time. I remember for the longest time, there was always just three networks, three channels. And if you fell asleep in front of the TV at like 10 p.m. watching a movie, you would wake up at like 12:30 or 1 a.m. with static or color bars on the TV screen because the stations were always shut down at like midnight or 1 a.m. Man, that was a time, wasn't it? Long before we had a 24-hour news cycle, long before we had uh, hundreds of channels of entertainment going 24 hours a day. It's like you watch something. If you missed it, you missed it, unless you programmed a VCR to catch it, and then you could watch it later. Yeah, the classic color bars or infomercial. I always remembered color bars or static. Like if the TV just shut off, closed for the end of the day, it would just be static. Sometimes color bars. But yeah, it's like talk about a bygone era and just going back to what was compared to how society is now. Oh, the Fall Guy. The Fall Guy, Remington Steele. Oh, Cagney and Lacey. Yes, another cop show. Oh, Unsolved Mysteries from 1987 to 2010. The Twilight Zone from 1985 to 1989. What's this? USA Up All Night. Yeah, yeah. Again, I didn't have cable at the time. When I did have cable, it was like, okay, some of the stuff I wasn't allowed to watch or didn't care for. Oh, T.J. Hooker. Look at that. This is like going down memory lane here because I started off with some new TV shows I was enjoying. Now we've gone off on a 80s tangent, which has been quite enjoyable. Simon and Simon, The Real Ghostbusters. Yeah, the cartoons from the time. I mean, if you want to talk about long gone culture, Saturday morning cartoons from the 70s and 80s. The only time kids would get up early in the morning, excited, and rush to the TV with their breakfast cereal to watch whatever was on Saturday morning cartoons. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do remember him. From time to time, I did catch some of his shows, some of the bad, cheesy horror movies he was kind of presenting. Ah, Police Squad. Oh, The Joy of Painting with Bob Ross. Yeah, that was like a staple on PBS. Inspector Gadget, Thundercats, season one Ghostbusters cartoon was great. Then, yeah, I think I kind of remember that. I don't know if I ever watched all of the first season or very much of it, but I kind of remember bits and pieces of it. Oh, there's Max Headroom. Oh, Scarecrow and Mrs. King. A pre-Tron, pre-Babylon 5 Bruce Boxleitner. Yes, that's right. Voltron, Defender of the Universe, Transformers. I mean, this list goes on and on and on. The 80s rocked. Let's see, not a show, but Police Academy had enough movies to be a season. Oh, that's true. Them and the ever how many sequels they had, the 8, 10, I don't know, 12. It was probably something like 6 or 7, but it just felt like they had a lot more. Let's see, how long have I been going on here? All right. It's well past 12 a.m., getting close to 12:30 my time, so I'm starting to feel myself drag a bit. And as much as I joke about weaponizing my insomnia, there are bits and periods of time when I start slowing down and dragging. So I'll wrap it up pretty soon. I'm enjoying this discussion here, guys. Thank you guys so much. Jason of Star Command, I remember him. Space Academy with, yes, I remember that. Shazam. I don't think I've ever seen a full episode of Shazam and the Power of Isis. But yeah, I remember them. I remember Thundar the Barbarian. Spectre Man was an old kaiju show where he fought like a. Okay, that's new to me. I'm unfamiliar with that one. Sounds cool. But yeah, this has been fun. I've enjoyed everyone in the chat. Thank you all so much for joining me as I discuss or share with you all some early some TV shows I've come across recently and wanted to share with you all. There we go. Let's see who joined me tonight. I'm starting to feel myself dragging, so before I like fall asleep at the keyboard, I'm going to thank you all. Uh, Killer Rabbit from Space. I think you were the first one in the gate. And you were followed by Melted Copper. Tim the Enchanter. Hello. See, Padawannabe. Let's see. Melted Copper. I don't want to forget anybody. Melted Copper. Ah, yes. Shout out to Admiral Teague for popping in. Hello there. Thank you for joining us. Killer Rabbit. Admiral Teague. As I scroll down. Oh, yes. Don't want to forget Lemon Pie. Hello, Lemon Pie. Thanks for joining me tonight. As I continue scrolling down to make sure I get everybody, shout everyone out for joining tonight. And I'm caught up with the chat. So thank you all for joining me tonight. Like, subscribe, share as always. As always, in my live streams, life is too short for bad entertainment. bad movies and bad TV shows. If you don't like something, don't watch it. There's plenty of good stuff out there to enjoy. So, with that said, I'll leave you all until next time, everyone. See ya.